So, the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. So I've been told this is like Portal 2 because I loved Portal 2. I've been told that I'm going to love this as well because it's of a similar kind of vibe. Poppy's eating my Converse shoe. Oh, look! It does it all in the TVs. What do you want? Here she is. The whole reason everybody's here. Begin! The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. The end is never, the end is never, the end is loading.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Whoa! That's still mental. Hold on. Okay. I hate Mondays. Okay, let's do what we're told. Must have been Steve.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Where's the meeting room?
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Wait a minute.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. Stanley simply stood here, drinking it all in.
Mm-hmm. I think so.
Yes, really, really worth it being here in the room. A room so utterly captivating that even though all your co-workers have mysteriously vanished, here you sit looking at these chairs and some paintings. Really worth it. At this point, Stanley's obsession with this room bordered on creepy and reflected poorly on his overall personality. It's possible that this is why everyone left. Stanley sat around waiting for more dialogue. But when a long time had passed and there was no more, he decided that the game was trying to send him a message.
All right. Understood.
But at last, he'd had enough of the amazing room. He took the first open door on his left to get back to business.
All right.
And so he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track. But Stanley didn't want to go back to the office. He wanted to wander about and get even further off track. So now in order to get back, he needed to go, from here, it's, left. Oh, no, it's to the right, my mistake. No, not the right. Why would I have ever said it was to the right? What was I thinking? It's clearly... Oh dear, would you hold on for a minute, please?
Did H miss the hint?
Let's see, we went down right, left, down, left, right. Yep, okay, yes. I've got it now. This story is absolutely, definitely this way.
What the fuck?
No. This isn't right at all. You're not supposed to be here yet. This is all a spoiler. Quick, Stanley, close your eyes. Okay. We just have to get back to, oh, who am I kidding? It's all rubbish now. The whole story completely unusable. How about, rather than waste my time trying to salvage this nonsense, we'll just restart the game from the beginning. And this time, suppose we don't wander so far off track, Okay, from the top. All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Okay, we'll do what you say this time.
When Stanley... Wait, what? No, I restarted. I swear, I definitely restarted the game over, completely fresh. Everything should be... Oh, did something change? Stanley, did you change anything when we were back in that room with all the monitors? Did you move the story somewhere, or... Hold on. Why am I asking you? I'm the one who wrote the story. It was right here just a minute ago. I know for sure that it's here somewhere. Okay, then. It's an adventure. Come, Stanley. Let's find the story.
I'm gonna go this one. Does that... What the fuck? Inner guilt. Everyone knows what you did. They're just holding back to let you torture yourself.
I'll say it. This is the worst adventure I've ever been on. I can promise you there definitely was a story here before. Do we need to restart the game again?
No!
I find it unlikely that we'll ever progress by starting over and over again, but it's got to be better than this. Okay, let's give it a shot. Why not?
H got lost simulator.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
I like work. I just hate my boss.
Okay, yep, it's
Oh!
worse. I might be remembering this wrong. It's possible the story is back where we just came from. Why don't we go back the other direction and see if we missed anything?
Okay.
Aha! I knew we'd miss something. The story. Here it comes. No, wait, never mind. Not the story. Okay, let's head back the other way and retrace our steps.
What?
Now this... Well, I'll be honest, I don't recognize this place at all. Is this the story? I don't think so. I can't quite recall, but I believe my story took place in an office building.
Jesus.
Do you remember, Stanley?
Remember
You know
what?
Since I've completely
I
forgotten
don't know what you
we were
said.
supposed to be doing, how about this? You win!
Yay!
Congratulations! I know you put in a lot of hard work, and it really paid off, so good job. Oh, no. No, I don't feel right about this at all. We both know you didn't put in any actual work for that win. Some people win fair and square, and this was not one of those situations. Okay, I'm getting weirded out by whatever this place is. I don't care what might happen this time. I have to restart.
Okay.
All right, I've got a solution. This time, to make sure we don't get lost, I've employed the help of the Stanley Parable Adventure Line. Just follow the line. How simple is that?
Trademark. Okay. Easy.
You see? The line knows where the story is. It's over in this direction. Onward, Stanley, to destiny. Though, here's a thought. Wouldn't wherever we end up be our destination, even if there's no story there? Or to put it another way, is the story of no destination still a story? Simply by the act of moving forward, are we implying a journey such that a destination is inevitably conjured into being via the very manifestation of the nature of life itself? Whoa, 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 whoa. Hang on. That got a bit weird back there. Well, I'd like to apologize. Not sure where I was going with all that. You know what? I think what we need right now is a bit of music to lighten the mood. Cut the music. Go back and look at that fern. Stanley, this fern will be very important later in the story. Make sure you study it closely and remember it carefully. You won't want to miss anything.
Really? Okay. Well, there's like... Study trademark. Okay.
Wait, what? We're back at the office? No. Line, you do know we're looking for the Stanley Parable, right? The story?
Something feels
Is
evil.
any of this ringing a bell? Oh, no, not again. Line, how could you have done this to us? And after we trusted you, after everything we've been through, you... Oh, I can't take this anymore.
What number am I?
To hell with it.
4...
Restart.
Ah! 427, aren't I?
You know what, Stanley? I say forget the adventure line. What's it ever done for us? We're intelligent people, right? Why can't we make up our own story? Something exciting, daring, mysterious. Ooh, this all sounds perfectly doable. Why don't we simply start wandering in, well, I don't know. How about this direction?
Okay.
Now, Yes, this is exciting.
Yeah.
Just me and Stanley forging a new path, a new story. Well, it could be anything. What do you want our story to be?
Oh, I don't
Go
know.
wild. Use your imagination. Whatever it might be, Stanley, I'm ready for it. Oh, no, not you again. Stanley, I'd also like to veto the line from having any role in our awesome new story. No lines or monitor rooms. Just
Okay.
don't acknowledge it, and we should be fine.
Okay. What line? It worked.
Ah, a choice. We get to make a decision. From here, the story is in our control. How important we mustn't squander the opportunity. In fact, I believe I need a minute to think here. Just walk in circles for a minute.
Okay.
Okay, so I know that each door has to lead somewhere, which means that somewhere, the place where we're trying to go, there must be a reverse door that leads here. And that in turn means that our destination corresponds with the
This is
counter-inverted
fun.
reverse door's origin. So starting from the right, let us ask, will taking the right door lead us to where we're going? And since the answer is clearly yes, then by all accounts, the door on the right is the correct one. Another victory for logic. Come, Stanley, our destiny awaits.
Yay!
Oh, hold up, what's this? The confusion ending. You're telling me that's what this is? It's all one giant ending? And we're supposed to restart the game, what, eight times?
Stanley dies after a long
Really how
time.
all this goes?
Find a bookstore.
It's all
Get bored and leave.
determined? So now, according to the schedule, I restart again. Then what? Am I just supposed to forget? Well, what if I don't want to forget? My mind goes blank
Forgets
simply
about
because
previous
it's written here
restarts.
on
Tends to
this,
play story, but
this
it's prevented,
thing.
unable to go anywhere doing it. The game
Wall.
restarts on its own.
Well, who consulted me? Why don't I get to decide? Why don't I get a say in all of this? Is it really... No, it can't be. I don't want it to be. I don't want the game to keep restarting. I don't want to forget what's going on. I don't want to
Oh,
be
no.
trapped like this. I won't restart the game. I won't do it. I won't do it. I won't do it. And the timer stopped? Does that mean, did we do it? Did we break the cycle? The, whatever it is that made this schedule? How would we even know? Will someone come for us? Will something happen? So, okay. I guess now we just wait. You know, I suppose in some way that this is a kind of story, wouldn't you agree? I'm not quite sure if we're in the destination or the journey, though they're always saying that life is about the journey and not the destination. So I hope that's where we are right now. We'll find out, won't we? Eventually. Well, in the meantime, if you... All of his co-workers were
Oh,
gone.
no.
What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Okay, we'll do the left. Tips for not getting fired.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
What do people want? Things. Happy feelings. Violet James, you are fired. Money. More money. Things, but with money to buy more things. Graphs. Graphs about things and money. We have our new product. Stock market is somewhere here. Coloured in segment stripe. Telephone directory. Bi-quarterly post review. We need more... We need less reviews. 402 and 405 want to get rid of the death sport portion in the primary review schedule, but I think that's a stupid idea. More water coolers, more water cooler heaters. Charts need to be more hip to appeal to teenage demographic. Find teenagers to put in teenage demographic. Big net, some sort of child trap. Teenagers, size of demographic, space between the teenagers. Throw something in the bin. Throw something in the ideas bin. 1. No more bins, trash cans. 2. Renaming of ideas. 3. Firing of me. Ideas bin. Better safe than profits. Business club. Rule 1. I can't read it. Do unbelievably amazing work all the time, every day with no exception of promotion. To do. Synergize core value expenditures. Shift global market parad. Monetize free to play. Help. I'm a post-it. This is very funny. I'm enjoying this a lot. Targets. Push for funding for R&D of new coffee machine. Standardized graphs 40 wide. Not cost efficient. Get Chris out of the broom closet. Synergize. What is that? Hire someone to synergize papers. Or papers. Papers are too synergized. Fire the paper guy. Hire somebody to fire the paper synergy guy. Will you move my desk? Please keep the targets on the topic of something. Tomorrow. Complete today's unfinished agenda items. Write next day's agenda. Reflect. Employee. Hello, Buck Funky. Employee 417 491 431 416 Jim. I'm to play a new game, a game with jovial but not pompous know-it-all narrator. Yes, I've never played this before. I'm enjoying it so far. Okay. Broom closet. Someone's in here.
Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss. Admitting he had left his post during work hours, he might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished. His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence
I'm
in a
in a
single
loop.
moment for no reason at all. None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming, he yelled. This is all a dream. Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground. Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking? Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment and my wife and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay.
Mm-hmm.
Stanley began screaming. Please, someone, wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black.
Oh.
This is the story of a woman named Mariella. Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy. This much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day, the very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life.
Just my
She
face.
had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
What is this?
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Perhaps I've just missed a memo. Super duper.
When
I think
Stanley
it's.
came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
I think it's the Ultra Deluxe version or whatever it is.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there. Oh no, no, not again. I won't be part of this. I'm not going to encourage you. I'm not going to say anything at all. I'm just going to be patient and wait for you to finish whatever it is you enjoy doing so much in this room. Please take your time.
Okay, thank you. I want to look at the wrench. And the broom. What's the difference? Unless it spoils it for
Coming
me, in
to a
which case don't
staircase,
say.
Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Because the boss knows that what the boss says goes, if the bosses suffered losses, that's what the boss chose. Because the boss knows that what the boss says goes, if the bosses suffered losses, then that's what the boss chose.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this. What dark secret was being held from him? What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck.
1702.
He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
This reminds me of the start of Prey. You know, where it's all like you think you're in a certain place and then you're in like almost like a movie set.
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long. Stanley walked straight ahead
Jesus
through the large
Christ.
door that read Mind Control Facility. Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death.
I don't trust you.
The door behind him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track.
I know, right?
At this point, Stanley was making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward and willingly confront his death.
Yep.
As the machine whirred into motion, and Stanley was inched closer and closer to his demise, he reflected that his life had been of no consequence whatsoever. Stanley can't see the bigger picture. He doesn't know the real story, trapped forever in his narrow vision of what this world is. Perhaps his death was of no great loss, like plucking the eyeballs from a blind man. And so he resigned and willingly accepted this violent end to his brief and shallow life. Farewell, Stanley.
Farewell.
"Farewell, Stanley," cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, Stanley was obliterated as the machine crushed every bone in his body, killing him instantly. And yet it would be just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish? When every path you can walk has been created for you long in advance, death becomes meaningless, making life the same. Do you see now? Do you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
Nature paintings. Office layout. The blueprint shows the office from the beginning of the game. The path from Stanley's office to the 2 doors was the first part of the game that was built. Sections have been added and altered throughout development through the core layout remains almost identical to the first iteration. Corridor. The pacing of this opening section was important to get right. The corridor has been moved and altered to make sure the player reaches the 2 doors in good time. Filing cabinet. Office computers. Hey! Installing Chart Pro 2. Based on the work. Oh, look at these guys. Button sounds. A selection of the sounds used throughout the game when buttons are pressed. Each sound is a key of a keyboard stroke and a synthesized tone. The office. Maintenance room. An early version of the maintenance room. Dear narrator, how do you stay in shape? Narrator emails. After the second trailer we sent out, we asked people to email the narrator for questions. While we had initially planned to use these further promotional materials, we never found the perfect use for them. Here are a selection of those emails. The lounge, an early version of the lounge. The apartment timer. In a previous version of the choice leading to the apartment ending, a timer would give you 15 seconds to pick up the phone. Not picking up the phone would lead to a different ending. I don't like that noise. The cargo lift. The second version is functionally the same as what's in the final game, but we wanted to look more like a place where cargo was actually stored. Spoilers! The cargo lift. The cargo lift was always intended to offer the choice of staying on or jumping to a different path. However, after this early version, we decided we also wanted the option of the player falling to their death. What? This is Portal! The screenshots depict an earlier version of the ending known as the Zending, which was eventually cut and merged with another part of the game. The Zending went through many iterations. This room represents the 4th version of the ending, and we thought it was complete, but decided to abandon and change it again shortly before launch. Is this supposed to be Portal? This looks like Portal to me. Escape menu. For a long time, we had an ending that only ended when the player restarted from the escape menu. Unfortunately, very few players realised this was what they were supposed to do, which was frustrating to everyone. But countdown desks. For a time, the elevator on the monitor room could go up and down. An early version of the countdown room. I'm eager to go there, but I just want to see. This is the level that William, the level designer, sent Davey, the writer, as a kind of audition piece. The strength of this level got William hired to design the full game, though much of the environment has changed. The basic layout from this mock-up is still in the game. Freedom ending. This is the freedom ending as it exists in beta.
Oh, look at these two. How they wish to destroy one another. How they wish to control one another. How they both wish to be free. Can you see? Can you see how much they need one another? No, perhaps not. Sometimes these things cannot be seen. But listen to me. You can still save these two. You can stop the program before they both fail. Push escape and press quit. There's no other way to beat this game. As long as you move forward, you'll be walking someone else's path. Stop now and it'll be your only true choice. Whatever you do, choose it. Don't let time choose for you. Don't let time...
Hey, Glitch. How are you? What the fuck?
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
This is crazy.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. Yet there was not a single person here either.
Ah, Glitch,
Feeling a
thank
wave
you.
of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
I want to find the guy that's in here. Thank you, Glitch. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. What could it mean? Stanley wondered aloud to nobody. He began wildly tearing through papers on the boss's desk, pulling books off the shelf, looking behind paintings, desperate for clues to his situation.
I can't remember
But
what
his
the code
attention
was.
caught by a keypad behind the boss's desk. What could its purpose be?
You're locked in there.
In fact, this keypad guarded the terrible
You already
secret
said
that lay
1702.
buried below his feet. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly. Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
This is crazy.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Okay.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out? Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
What number am I again? 472. Oh, 427. There I am.
Go away.
You could be in here climbing up climbing up the. Oh my god. Speaking is hard. Okay.
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his
The latest
boring
version of
job?
the
That his
reactor.
emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No. He refused to believe it. He
No.
couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control?
I don't like it.
It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was
Yeah.
it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy, or sad, or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
Is this a thing? I have to go in here, probably. Joe is narrating.
And when at last he found the source of the room's power, he knew it was his duty, his obligation, to put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for. Blackness and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over? Yes. He had won. He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him, for it was not knowledge or even power that he
Is this
had
the
been
calm
seeking,
ending?
but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand,
Or whatever it
but
was.
to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all. he
Freedom
needed
ending,
to
that's it.
know.
Yeah.
It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door. Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.